Hey guys, what's going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Pistol Whip, developed and published by Cloudhead Games. Pistol Whip is now available on PSVR, Index 5, Rift, Windows Mixed Reality, and Quest. However, this review will focus primarily on the PSVR and Quest versions. The game retails for an estimated price of $25. Of course, that depends on your region and platform. Inspired by God mode action movies like John Wick and Equilibrium, Pistol Whip throws you gun first into an explosive batch of handcrafted action scenes, each set to their own breakneck soundtrack. But unlike traditional music games, Pistol Whip has no line in the sand. You have complete freedom to shoot, melee, and dodge bullets to the rhythm as you see fit. Pistol Whip has been out for a while on both PCVR and Oculus Quest. Too much fanfare. But it comes out now for PSVR headsets. Let's see if the hype is justified. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It not only helps out my channel, but VR gaming as a whole. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. And of course, for more VR info, check Shughead Gaming out on Twitter and Facebook. Let's kick things off with a look at graphics. The visual prerequisite these days for VR rhythm games seems to be hyper-stylized, with a vibrant color palette and a sharp, high-res presentation. Pistol Whip certainly checks all these boxes, but puts the genre on its head with a decidedly low-poly comic book visual style that bounces and shakes to the music. This dynamic, super hot-inspired visual choice, while maybe coming off a bit simple when taken in on a flat screen, feels very different once viewed from inside of a VR headset, where the world is literally a DJ'd comic book that feels organically connected to the music, with enemy locations and behaviors that even move in sync with the beat. Pistol Whip also brings a visual diversity to the rhythm genre that I have repeatedly criticized the current assortment of VR rhythm games for suffering from. Here, each of the game's 15 stages are handcrafted for the individual song, adding an additional dynamic to the mapping of the scoring system. And while the on-rail structure and overall look of the game is certainly a constant throughout, each level has a completely unique visual style, color palette, and level layout, adding some much-needed variety to what are sure to be levels that will be played a multitude of times. With a slightly crisper presentation than the Quest port, both versions seem to be almost perfect translations of the PC version, with very little reduction in any effects or on-screen action. The end result is a game that visually appears to be worth the wait, as it delivers exactly what was advertised. Sound is up next. Another VR rhythm game and yet another hard EDM soundtrack. Taking a decidedly middle-of-the-road approach to their core soundtrack, Pistol Whip opts to avoid in-house music and instead goes with music developed by established artists, yet does not include some of the more high-profile artists and songs seen in Audica. Like I said in my previous reviews of both Beat Saber and Audica, with music being so subjective, it's hard to comment on the quality of the tracks on hand, but I will say that the soundtrack fares similarly to what we heard in Beat Saber when it launched on both PSVR and Quest, with no one song being a real stinker, but only a handful being real standouts. In addition, as I found on both Beat Saber and Audica, my preference leaned more towards the upbeat songs, which seem to work much better with the nature of the game, as higher BPMs lend themselves to more organic difficulty scaling, with the mapping and slower songs often feeling forced with off-time placement often being the solution to increasing the difficulty level. However, I will say that Pistol Whip has the best mapping when it comes to slow songs, often settling into a cool kind of groove. With only 15 songs at the time of release on the PSVR, and some of these being of the slower variety, music fatigue is unfortunately likely to set in rather quick. Production-wise, Pistol Whip is not surprisingly expertly produced, and with the soundtrack in the mix right up front, thick and bassy. In addition to being a music rhythm game, Pistol Whip is also a shooter, featuring an assortment of handguns. Sound variation across weapon choices here is limited, but weapons do sound appropriately meaty, tending to sound more like real weapons than not. And as a fan of real-world shooters over that of laser guns, this was for me a huge win, and definitely added a bit of grit and badassery, simply absent in Audica. Gunshots also play a prominent role here in the sound mix, with weapon sounds literally coming in as an instrument of their own. With a scoring system that is actually built around shooting and rhythm with the game, you will quickly find your gun is just as much a percussion instrument as it is a killing tool, resulting in a playing experience that scratched not only my love of shooters and action movies, but also my love of music creation tools. Finally, the question I know many are asking: new content. Paid and free DLC is planned but seems to be a ways out when looking at Cloudhead's 2020 roadmap. Custom songs can be added to the Quest, but they range in quality from simple overdubs to existing maps to maps that have actually been manipulated to new songs. And for those interested in custom song imports, I will leave some links in the notes below. And as for my PSVR friends, that is again a no-go on custom songs, as custom songs is not official and will never make it on Sony's closed system. And that brings us to gameplay. Gun Fu, or the more modern styling Gun Kata, is a style of gun-centric martial arts created by Asian cinema and embraced by American filmmakers in movies like The Matrix, the very underrated Equilibrium, and the more recent John Wick series. Part Beat Saber, Super Hot, and Wave Shooter, Pistol Whip is a music rhythm game that wears its influences on its sleeves and delivers a very accessible VR game that will make anyone who plays it feel like a total boss. There are two basic gameplay mechanics going on in Pistol Whip. As a shooter, the game rewards accuracy, reload management, and penalizes you for getting hit with bullets or obstacles, resulting in a reduction in your health, if you will. Successful shots on enemies will fill this health gauge slowly, with a well-timed punch to the face of a nearby enemy being a risky pursuit, but rewarded with full clips and a fully recharged health bar, hence the title Pistol Whip. The second game mechanic is where Pistol Whip leans into the more rhythm music side of things, with curated environments and enemy placement being mapped around the beat and nuances of each song. Rewards come in the form of shooting in rhythm and of course shots that actually land. In fact, enemy placement can be predicted around the song itself, with parts of a song often being able to be utilized to prepare for a hidden enemy ready to pounce on cue. These two game mechanics, when taken together, take what reads like an odd pairing on paper and creates a real crowd pleaser of a VR game that offers something to just about everyone, whether they are a shooter fan, rhythm game fan, gamer, or non. This accessibility is helped greatly by the way the game skews its difficulty. The game's base settings have 3 difficulties, all offering varying degrees of difficulty while never making the levels feel chaotic or impossible, and instead keeping the fun factor around being John Wick with rhythm front and center. Higher difficulties see an increase in overall enemies, as well as increasing the amount that are wearing either the base armor or the even more durable dudes with helmets. In addition, higher levels of difficulty will see enemies getting more sneaky, coming out of areas tougher to see, hit, or just popping up right in front of you. Personally, modifiers are where the game's real fun and longevity will be found, offering an assortment of options, either giving you the advantage or instead making the game harder, with any choices having a resulting effect on your ability to reach higher scores. An approach I love in comparison to the usual deal of any modifiers locking you out of leaderboards. Case in point, I think many will opt for the advantage of dual wielding, as the game just begs you to go full on Gun Kata, and in my opinion is at its best when doing so. However, for those looking for a challenge, they may choose to turn on the Deadeye modifier, which removes the game's extremely heavy auto-aim assist and has the instant effect of quickly sobering up any player with illusions of having John Wick's skill set, and drastically increases the game's difficulty above and beyond all 3 core difficulty levels. Other modifiers like No Fail and Unlimited Ammo swing this difficulty the other way, and hence the experimentation and replay value. Those looking for some customization will be pleased to find not only a selection of different gun skins, but also a large assortment of handguns, including some ripped straight out of John Wick in the Baba Yaga collection. Unfortunately, this variety in mods and gun options doesn't carry over to some of the game's key areas. Noticeably absent is a campaign to play through, as well as such options as custom mapping capability, playlists, party play, online multiplayer, or any real weapon variation outside of handguns. Admittedly, some of these aspects have been outlined on the developer's roadmap for 2020, but with only 15 songs and no DLC in the near future, the bare cupboard stings a little bit more. Tracking on the PSVR is actually fantastic, providing you have the room, decent camera placement, and don't stray too far away from the PSVR's tracking range. 95% of the time, it worked flawlessly for me, with that extra 5% being found on the Quest side of things due to its 360 inside-out tracking. Pistol Whip is highly recommended to be played standing, as it is a game that will have you dodging and crouching bullets and barriers, with barriers requiring that both the headset and controllers avoid them. That being said, for those who want or need to sit, the game can be adjusted using the modifier menu, going as far to even remove all obstacles. Motion sickness shouldn't be too much of an issue. However, unlike Beat Saber and Audica, you are being moved forward, so some of you may feel a little bit unsteady when starting out. And finally, that brings me to fun factor, my final review. Pistol Whip, like Beat Saber, is accessible VR done right. Its simple pick up and play nature, with the ability to greatly amp up the difficulty level for veterans, makes this a game that can meet each gamer at their desired level. Throw in some catchy tunes and solid gunplay badassery, and it will be hard to find someone who plays this and doesn't come away with a smile. As you guys know, I hate number scores and instead review games based on a basis of buy it, burn it, or wait on it. There really isn't much bad to say about this game other than its sheer lack of content in the core game. Custom songs are a bit hit or miss on the Quest and simply not happening on the PSVR, so for most, what you see is what you get until probably late 2020. The game's roadmap mentions the upcoming Heartbreaker trilogy offering 3 new songs, and the Concierge update bringing with it new scenes, enemies, weapon types, and a single-player campaign. But keep in mind, this could be paid or free content, with something likely resembling a combination of the two. As such, buy it now for what it is so you aren't disappointed. As it stands right now, replay value will likely remain remain only for those score chasing. However, if the music on offer or music rhythm games simply aren't your thing, this likely will be a passing interest and go straight to the family and friends side of things. So for those in that camp, this might be something to wait for on a sale. Anyways guys, that's it for me. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. I'll catch you guys on my next video.